Hey guys, and welcome to Now for Something a Little Bit Different, episode 38. I hope everybody's doing great. It's great to see everybody. See, guys, I told you I'd become reliable again and start recording a little more regularly. I just got off track there for a little bit, but I had an awesome time recording last Sunday with Justin and Jose, and hopefully you guys enjoyed that episode. We're really enjoying talking about the wonderful career of Oliver Reed, and we're looking forward to next month where we're going to be talking about Hannibal Brooks. And spoiler, in September we're going to be doing one more Oliver Reed film. We're going to be also talking about the Assassination Bureau, which came out in the late '60s, like '68 or so. Both really fun movies. And what's great about both these movies, guys, just to give you a heads up, yes, they are both available very cheaply. Well, Hannibal Brooks you can find very inexpensively on Hamilton Books for $6. So if you like physical media, definitely pick that up for $6. It's a I'm not going to go into my thoughts, but it's worth owning. I'll leave it at that. Like Justin mentioned, you can find that on Amazon Prime. And then as well for our September Oliver Reed film, The Assassination Bureau, you can find that I believe it's on Tubi if you want to stream it. Um, and then Arrow put out a beautiful release of it, and it's about 25 bucks, I think. I don't know what the Amazon price is, I forget, but it's about that range. They're both definitely worth having in your collection, especially if you're an Ollie Reed fan, like myself. So yeah, that's just touching bases on that. This week, guys, I'm super excited. I don't have anybody to talk to, so you're hearing me sputter out. Unfortunately, it's not a conversation piece other than me talking to you guys. But I do have some other really cool stuff. I'm talking about one of my favorite filmmakers, Giuseppe. I'm gonna mispronounce some names here, guys. That's normal with me. You know that. Giuseppe Tornatore. Giuseppe Tornatore is a wonderful filmmaker, and I will tell you exactly why I think he's a wonderful filmmaker in just a few minutes. I'm going to be talking about The Legend of 1900, which is a film that came out in 1998, and yeah, I occasionally hear people mention it. I'm in a lot of different film groups on Facebook, like the Gentleman's Guide to Midnight Cinema and some other type groups. On a rare occasions, I hear it get mentioned, but I feel like it's one of those ones that kind of gets lost in the fray, if you will. Um, but before I get into what I'm thinking about as far as the film goes and my thoughts and all that fun stuff, I figured I'd catch you guys up on what I've been watching or reading lately. Um, so I only recorded on Sunday, guys, and it's been kind of a hectic week. It's Thursday as I'm recording this, and I didn't get a ton in. So a couple of cool things I did get. I started reading. I'm only about two chapters into. It's called "What Fresh Lunacy Is This?" And it's the biography of Oliver Reed. Um, I'm about two chapters in. It's written by a guy named Robert Sellers. And he went through a lot of friends of Oliver Reed. Oliver Reed's a son and daughter both participated. I think even his ex-wife. So there's a lot of people to try to get as close to the source and the core of our man Oliver, if you will, as possible. And it's hard for me to actually give you a full review on that, guys, because I'm only a couple chapters in. I'm not going to lie. But what I'm reading so far is excellent. You can definitely pick this up on Amazon. I got a used copy, believe it or not. I got really lucky and it was pretty darn cheap. So that was my score. Um, and talking about other cheap scores, that will bring me to two of the movies which I got a chance to watch this week. I picked up this at my local library for $1. Yeah, I know it's DVD and I know we prefer Blu-ray or 4K, but Stakeout and another Stakeout. I know this movie's been around forever. How have I never seen this movie? I don't know. But it's good. I mean, you got Richard Dreyfuss and Emilio Estevez. It's directed by John Badham, who, of course, I think did The Karate Kid and a bunch of other wonderful movies. And it's a fun movie. Basically, you have Emilio Estevez and Richard Dreyfuss, two partners. Um, they're detectives, and they get put on a case where they have to do a stakeout and watch this lady because her husband or her boyfriend was a criminal and he just escaped out of jail. And of course, throughout the course of this movie, Richard Dreyfuss falls in love with the girl, and but of course he can't tell her that he's a detective because he's watching her for this case. And hijinks ensue, and of course it all wraps up in a happy ending of sorts. Spoiler, they end up together. But this movie came out in the 80s, guys. So, hopefully I'm not spoiling it too much. Hopefully I'm the only one that waited till now to see this movie. But it was a fun movie. Me and the girl watched this together and we had a really good time with it. And then you have another stakeout, who is also directed by John Badham. Now, this movie, I'm not going to lie, it also has Rosie O'Donnell. Yes, Rosie O'Donnell, excuse me, in the sequel, and it's not bad. It's still directed by John Badham. I felt like it was missing a couple beats. Same, another stakeout. I don't think it's overly notable, but it's also not horrible. So I'm not going to even bother to go too much into the details on that. Um, which finally brings me to my second film, which is The System. Of course, it's an Oliver Reed film. This one's pretty interesting. You got Oliver Reed, Jane Murrow, Barbara Ferris, Harry Andrews, and Julia Foster. Um, and I don't have the release date. I didn't make notes for what I've been watching because I wanted to get this video out today, so I didn't take the time to write notes. Being a little bit lazy, guys. Bear with me. Um, but of course, it's our man Oliver Reed. I think this came out. I want to say this came out in 64. Okay, so it came out in 64. It's in black and white. Oliver Reed, along with his buddies, live in this party town, and every summer the tourists come to visit, and of course they go lady chasing. Um, Oliver Reed's character also happens to be a little bit of a photographer, and that's what he enjoys. One day, after floozing and flaunting and whining and dining all the women and hooking up, that's like his philosophy. He's not really one to be tied down. He meets a girl. Um, I believe played by Jane Merrill, I think is the girl. Don't quote me on that, guys. I didn't take my notes on, so I don't know the character's name. But anyway, he meets a girl that he's actually interested in more than just a casual fling with. Uh, and then, surprisingly, he finds out that maybe that's all she wants. Uh, but he's falling in love with her. So it's an interesting film. Um, it's really fun. I mean, this is Oliver Reed in his prime, looking like a big stud. Highly enjoyable. Indicator put out a release of this. And I believe possibly off the top of my head, I think maybe Kino Lorber also has a release of this. But it's Oliver Reed, man. Just being Oliver Reed, being a stud. He's all charm and personality. Definitely another one that's highly worth you guys checking out. So yeah, those are some things that I've been reading and watching. Just give me a second here because I'm gonna get to my cheat sheet so I can get into the movie we're talking about today, which is The Legend of 1900. So, like I said, this came out in 1998, and it was made for an estimated budget of 9 million. Interestingly, it only grossed 4 million, and I think a lot of that was overseas. Um, Over in the States, it's basically considered an art house film, and it got a very small theatrical window here in the United States. Like a lot of art house films, it might only play in the major cities. I don't think it would ever play like by me or anything like that. But still did 4 million. And what's interesting is they did a re-release of this film in 2019 in China, and it did fantastic over there. I mean, well, considering it was made in 98, they did a release there. I don't think it had ever been shown there. And it actually made like 19 or $20 million when they did the re-release in 2019, which is not too bad, considering, like I said, it's not a film by like George Lucas. It's not Star Wars being released the 20th time or something like that. It's an independent film. Now, like I said, I mean, Giuseppe Tornatore is a relatively no name in art house cinema. I'm going to get into a little bit about the man himself, our director, Giuseppe Tornatore. He directed this, obviously. Um, he's an Italian film director, And I think most people primarily know him for Cinema Paradiso. That came out in '89, I want to say. No, '88, excuse me. He directed it in '88, and it won the Oscar for Best Foreign Language Picture in '89. He's, like I said, he's an Italian film director, and he's considered, excuse me, guys, one of the directors who brought critical acclaim back to Italian cinema. Tornatore developed an interest in acting and theater from a young age. And he initially started off just doing freelance photography before he got into the world of filmmaking, and then eventually moving over to film. He made his debut with a documentary called Ethnic Minorities, a collaborative film, a collaborative documentary, which won a Salerno Festival Prize, and this brought him some attention. Um, and then from there, he moved on to his first full-length feature film, which is called El Camarista, and I'm again probably horribly mispronouncing that. Um, in the States, it was labeled The Professor. Um, I watched this, but unfortunately, it was late at night, guys. This was going back a couple months ago, and I fell asleep. Not because it was boring, but just because I was exhausted. But it's currently on Amazon Prime, so I have to check it out because honestly, I don't count the viewing where I fell asleep in it as a viewing. Um, and it's a mob movie apparently, and because it's one of my favorite filmmakers, and I didn't really give it a proper viewing, I'm gonna get around to watching that. This did really well with both critics and audiences. And then we flash forward to '88, and this is where he makes the film, like I said, that puts him on the map. He directs Cinema Paradiso, and like I said, it's the one he's most known for. Cinema Paradiso was his sophomore film, and it's a film about the life of a successful film director who returns home to his hometown of Sicily, excuse me, after many years to attend the funeral of his mentor. Um, like I said, it was a huge success. It won him the Academy Award for Best Foreign Language Film, and pretty much cemented his career. Like I said, this is a beautiful film. Highly, highly recommended. I think you can rent this on Prime and probably several places. Sadly, I don't know why. I mean, I know it's a foreign language film and us Americans are snobs, but like, fuck, this movie should be on Netflix. It's just a beautiful film, guys. It's got the love story. It's about got the story about the kid growing up, going chasing his dream, to become a filmmaker. It's got all these beautiful, touching moments, and of course, it's also got a score by Ennio Morricone, which I'm also sorry, Ennio. I know you're dead, and I'm probably hardly mispronouncing your name. But this would become his first collaboration with the beautiful composer Ennio Morricone, and they would cement a friendship that would last the entire life of Ennio Morricone before he passed in 2019. Um, Ennio Morricone, the composer, actually worked on every film from Cine Paradiso on with Giuseppe Tornatore. So he pretty much worked on all of his films except for The Professor. Um, and actually, when Morricone went into retirement, he said the only person that could possibly lure him back into or out of retirement, excuse me, would be Giuseppe Tornatore. So it kind of shows you the friendship they had and the relationship. Pardon me for 1 second. So yeah, so Cinema Paradiso was his second film. That was the one that brought him all this acclaim and attention. In 1990, he did a movie called Everybody's Fine, which would be later remade. I don't know the exact year, but they did a remake with Robert De Niro. I think it was Drew Barrymore, maybe Sam Rockwell. That came out in 1990. Also got very good reviews. In '94, he followed it up with a movie called A Pure Formality with Gerard Depardieu and Roman Polanski. In '95, he did a movie called The Star Maker, which is also another really cool movie. This one's interesting. It takes place in World War II, and you have a con man, in Italy who has all this film equipment. And basically, the idea, guys, is he's going around trying to con people out of money, saying, "Hey, do you want to become a star? You know, if you do a screen test with me, I'll submit this to the big Italy studio film companies, and you're going to become a big star." And of course, he would charge people to do this. And this is also another, I think, overlooked Giuseppe Tornatore film. There are the big ones like Cinema Paradiso and Molina and some of these other films, but this one I think is underseen, and it's something I might actually talk about soon. So we'll see. But anyway, I'm off track here. So this brings us to his sixth film, which is the film we're talking about today, The Legend of 1900. In 2000, we had Molina with Monica Bellucci, which also another movie that takes place in Italy during World War II. Another beautiful, heartbreaking movie, but also wonderful. In 2006, he did a film called The Unknown Women. In 2009, he did a film called Varia. Um, 2013, he did a film called The Best Offer, which is also another really cool film. And that's another English language film. That's one thing I should also mention, guys. The Legend of 1900. This was Giuseppe Tornatore's first film that was in English. Um, and then The Best Offer would be his next one. In 2016, he did a film a film called Correspondence. And then, shoot, I know I got the date wrong on this, but I want to say 2019 as well. He did a documentary called Ennio, um, which paid, homage to our great composer Ennio Morricone, and about his life. And that's another film that I have not seen yet. It is on Prime to rent. I know they have Blu-rays of it here in the States and DVDs of it, but I've heard that the Blu-rays and the DVDs, for whatever reason, they don't have subtitles. I don't know why. I think they might be Blu-rays and DVDs from Italy. I think it didn't get. I don't think it got a USA release for the DVD and Blu-ray format. So I would recommend, if you're going to get that, guys, uh, rent it off Prime and wait for an American release. Unless you happen to speak Italian and read Italian, then the hell, just buy the import. Um, so yeah, that brings us up to date on all of our films from our filmmaker Giuseppe Tornatore. Um, Hold on one second. Uh, okay, so when we talk about the film Legend of 1900, I shall say some of the acclaim it did get. It won a Golden Globe for Best Screenplay. The screenplay was written by Alessandro Baracco, um, and it was also written by Giuseppe Tornatore. Alessandro Baracco did a movie called Lezione 21, The Belly of the Sea, and he's doing a movie right now called Without Blood, which is currently in post-production, and that should be coming out in another year or two. And that's another film directed by Angelina Jolie. Okay. And then, of course, Giuseppe Tornatore also co-wrote the screenplay. Um, Tornatore has co-written all of his screenplays, which is interesting. And this film, also another interesting piece of trivia, just so you guys should know. It's actually inspired by a film that came out in the 70s by Bernardo Bertolucci. All these Italian names, man, they're throwing me off, guys. Of course, I'm horrible with mispronouncing any of the foreign language names. Forget about the Japanese names, and you know what I mean. Um, so anyway, yes, the Legend of 1900 was inspired by a film directed by Bernardo Bertolucci, um, called 1900, and also goes by the name of Novecento. Um, this is a movie that had Robert De Niro, Gerard Depardieu. I haven't seen it yet. It's one of those movies that looks really, really good. I hear it's a long movie, but I hear it's a good movie and a very rewarding one. Um, but I haven't gotten around to watching it yet. So um, next, I guess I will talk about our cinematography, guys. So we have a guy lensing this by the name of Lajos Colte. And again, sorry about if I screwed up your name, Lajos. Um, he did cinematography for films like I lost my place here, guys. Sorry. Mobsters in '91, Born Yesterday, When a Man Loves a Woman, Just Cause, Home for the Holidays, and then he also worked with Tornatore on his film Melina in 2000. Um, so yeah, he has a nice little pedigree there. He's done some interesting stuff. I love Just Cause personally. I think that's a movie that gets overlooked. And even Home for the Holidays, it's a great holiday movie, and definitely a fun one. So, when we go into our world of editing, we have a guy named Massimino Quagliga. Oh man, guys, I'm really fucking up these Italian names today. Now, he worked on a lot of Tornatore films, and I think that's what he's primarily known for. He did stuff like The Star Maker, Molina in 2000, Bowery in 2009, The Best Offer in 2013, and Correspondence in 2016, and then also Ennio in 2021. Um, so he's worked a lot with Tornatore, um, and that's primarily what he's known for. Of course, like I mentioned earlier, our composer is the great Ennio Morricone. Now, you guys know Morricone, and even if you don't know the name, you know his music. He's composed, like I said, every film for Tornatore. He's an icon, and he's actually composed for over 534 films, guys. Oh my God. Like I said, sadly, he passed away. I want to say 2019. Some of the bigger names you guys probably would remember, like as far as films he's worked on, are like A Fistful of Dollars and the whole trilogy. Um, Days of Heaven. He did The Thing for John Carpenter. Once Upon a Time in America. He did Untouchables for De Palma, and so many more. So the guy's, like I said, he's got a big old fat resume. Um, so now, guys, I'm going to go ahead and talk to you guys about our cast. Um, Tim Roth is our main lead, and his character's name is 1900, or if you want to get technical, his full name is Danny Budman TD Lemon 1900. Some interesting things about Tim Roth as far as this film goes. Um, he can't actually play the piano. Our main character is a piano player, just to give you a little hint of what I'm about to talk to in a minute. Um, he trained for 6 months, pretty much just so Tim Roth could fake it and try to make it look convincing, but he never really learned how to play piano. Now, Tim Roth is one of those guys. You guys know Tim Roth. He's been in stuff like Vincent and Theo. I think the first one that came to my attention was Reservoir Dogs. That was the one that blew me away, and I was like, wow, Pulp Fiction, of course, Invincible in 2001, which is a very underrated film. Of course, the television series Lie to Me, which I still haven't seen yet, but I've heard good things. And stuff like Hateful Eight, he's done a lot of other stuff, but I'm just giving you guys the greatest hits. I figure you guys know our man Tim Roth, or you should, because he has a wonderful career. Um, Now, the next guy I want to talk to you in the cast is Pruitt Taylor Vince. He plays the role of Max Tooney, who's 1900's pretty much best friend. Pruitt Taylor Vince is primarily known as a character actor. I think this is unfortunate. I mean, he's very good at being a character actor. He has done the lead role occasionally, but the guy's got nothing but talent. Um, and I've got a lot of love for this guy. And I would almost argue that in this particular film, he's almost a co-lead. He kind of narrates the film, and I'll get into that, like I said, when I talk about the script. Um, I think he early on in his career he started off doing stuff like Angel Heart with Mickey Rourke, and then believe it or not, another Mickey Rourke film, Barfly. He popped up in stuff like Red Heat, Mississippi Burning, Wild at Heart, Jacob's Ladder, JFK. Another indie film which I think deserves more love is the film Heavy with Liv Tyler. Um, and as of right now, he's filming the new Superman film with James Gunn. He's playing Pa Kent. So I'm curious because I know some people were kind of like, I don't know about the casting, but I think about Pa Kent, I think of a farmer, and then I look at Pruitt Taylor Vince, and honestly, the guy looks throw him in some overalls, and I see farmer. But you know how people are on the internet. We could go into I could go on ages about how they shit on Heath Ledger, before the Dark Knight, or fuck, they gave Michael Keaton shit in the original Batman. So people like to judge. Fuck those people. You don't need those people. But anyway, guys. Next we have Bill Nunn. Bill Nunn is another guy that's a character actor. In this film, he plays 1900s adopted father. And like I said, I'll go into that when I get to the screenplay. Um, he's known for stuff like Sharky's Machine. He was in the film School Days and Do the Right Thing, Glory, Cadillac Man, and he was in all three of the Spider-Man movies, the ones that Sam Raimi made. And I didn't even realize that. So shame on me. Um, Now we have another actress, Melanie Theory. Melanie Theory plays a. She's just mentioned as the girl. She doesn't have a character name, but basically she plays a love interest of sorts, and she's known for this. Like I think before this, she did a lot of modeling and stuff like that. She did a movie with Vin Diesel called Babylon AD. She did a Terry Gilliam film, which I think also deserves more love. It does not get it, I feel like, called The Zero Theorem. And she was in a film not too long ago, came out called The Five Bloods, which I haven't seen. She's also done a bunch of other stuff, but I think these are the ones that you guys may have been, oh, okay, I've obviously heard of those names. She's talented. She should be getting more work. I'll just say that. Um, Next, we will talk about Clarence Williams III. He plays Jelly Roll Morton. When he pops up in the screenplay, he plays like an arch rival to our main character, 1900. An interesting little part. He's been in stuff like Purple Rain, 52 Pickup, Tough Guys Don't Dance, Sugar Hill, and of course the one I remember, Tales from the Hood. I think that was probably the first time he really stuck out to me. But he was also in stuff like Hoodlum, and he was hilarious in Half Baked. You can't forget that part. We have Peter Vaughn. Peter Vaughn, and again, another character where they don't give him a name for whatever reason. He's the shopkeeper. He's been in stuff like Village of the Damned, Straw Dogs, Time Bandits, and Brazil. So he has a nice little background of working with our man Terry Gilliam. And then finally, I'll mention Harry Ditson, who plays Captain Smith. He's been in stuff like Reds, Top Secret, and Women in Gold. So that's a little bit of like our main cast. Now I'm gonna get into the story, and this one I'm not gonna do like complete and total script here, guys. I'm trying to veer away from that a little bit. But that said, um, it's going to be a little more than a synopsis, somewhere in the middle, I guess, if you will. Because I feel like some people might get bored if I do beat by beat doing the script. I don't know. I enjoy that personally, but I don't know if some of you guys enjoy that. You guys chime in the comments, tell me what you think. But I am going to give you a pretty detailed synopsis. For the most part, the story's told in a series of flashbacks. We start off in the year 1900 on this ship called the SS Virginia. And basically, it's a ship that's primarily used to bring immigrants to America. Um, on this particular trip, it's from Italy to America. And we meet uh, our main character, 1900. He is just a baby. And he is found by Danny, the guy I mentioned earlier. Just bear with me. Bill Nunn. Danny is a co-worker in the ship, And when he's walking through the ship, he realizes some parents abandoned this poor baby. Um, so Danny, instead of doing the responsible thing and you know, turning him in, Danny decides, hey, this kid's going to become my little son. So he goes ahead and raises 1900 kind of as his own child. Um, Sadly, Danny is full of personality, and Bill Nunn is fantastic. And I feel like it would have been nice to see him have a bigger role in this film. But sadly, he only a few years later, when 1900 is probably 4 or 5 years old, he dies in an accident, a workplace accident. Couple things I should just backtrack a little bit. When he finds 1900, he names him uh, TD Lemon 1900. And the reason he does that, guys, is because that was the year he found them. And he's in a fruit crate that says TD Lemons. So that's where he gets the name TD Lemon 1900. So it's an interesting name. So anyway, yeah. So Danny unfortunately passes away, and 1900 realizes, even as a kid, he's like, I don't want to go to an orphanage, because when that happens, the cops come aboard the ship and they start looking for 1900, because he's a kid and he shouldn't be on the ship without a parental figure. But 1900, even as a kid, he outwits them and he hides. And a couple of days later, it's the evening time, and 1900 stumbles into the ballroom area, and he climbs above. He not climbs above. He climbs onto the piano, and he starts playing the piano. And lo and behold, we realize that this is one of those people that are just gifted, like first time touching the piano, and the kid's like a natural, and he's super talented. Um, so the captain and everyone aboard the ship pretty much see him doing this, and they should turn him in, but instead, um, they let him live on the ship, and basically, by the time he's a teenager, he's pretty much a young teen, and he's working with the local orchestra on the ship, providing entertainment for people on the ship. So it's an interesting little tidbit there, story wise. Bear with me for just a second here, guys. Uh, Now, this brings us to Vince Pruitt-Taylor, or otherwise known as his character's name, Max. In 1927, Max is hired as a member of the orchestra, and he ends up becoming close friends with 1900. Um, and they just really bond and connect. And it's just a really great connection and friendship. And like they just mean the world to each other. Um, so that ends up happening. 1900 finds his best friend. Meanwhile, we introduce Jelly Roll Morton, otherwise known as Clarence Williams III, who is a famous New Orleans jazz pianist. He hears this tale about this 1900 who only plays music aboard the SS Virginian, but he's this legendary piano player, and people think that he's even better than Jelly Roll Morton. So Jelly Roll Morton, of course, gets super offended by this, and he challenges 1900 to a piano duel. He comes aboard the ship, and they have this great piano duel. And essentially, he goes first, and he plays this powerful, wonderful, dramatic piece of music. And 1900 goes, and he follows it up with a really simple tune. And this just enrages Jelly Roll Morton, because he's like, "How dare you? You insult me!" Um, so then 1900 that realizes that this Jelly Roll Morton guy, he means business. So he pretty much he takes a match and he puts it on the strings of the piano, and he plays this beautiful, powerful, um, fast piano tune. And at the end of it, it actually the match is struck and it is lit fire because of him playing the piano so quickly and so amazingly. and basically that shuts up Jelly Roll Morton. So um, that's the next big progression in the film. Then we get into a what sadly should have been a love interest, but it was not. Um, there is a young girl, probably in her late teens, early 20s, played by Melanie Theory, the girl. Um, and when she enters the ship, 1900 sees her, and he's just taken aback. He's just by her beauty, he's just blown away, and he can't think of a way to approach her because he's cripplingly shy. When it comes to his body, he can talk, and when it comes to the piano, he can play the most beautiful music you've ever heard, but he can't find a way to talk to this girl. So while he's trying to wrap his head around how does he work up the courage to talk to this girl from her trip to Italy to America, um, there's a record producer who comes on board the ship, and he, of course he's heard the legend of 1900 about this character, this guy that's become this legendary piano player, because 1900 is he's just his reputation has grown, and he brings this recording device, um, and basically what happens is we see 1900 playing the piano, um, and while he's playing through the piano, throughout the porthole window, he sees the girl that he's smitten by. And he doesn't even care about the guy in the recording device. He just makes up this beautiful piece of music on the fly. And the guy's like, oh, what's this? And he just hits record. And afterwards, you find out that that wasn't something that, like I said, it was just done on the fly. It wasn't something that 1900 had already done or already written. It was just this song that was this beautiful love song that was kind of like narrating almost the story, um, of his love for this woman. Um, it's just a really touching scene. Afterwards, the guy goes to play back the recording to 1900, and 1900's like, well, this thing can't exist. I don't believe in the idea of um, people listening to my music when I'm not there. Like people want to see me play the music, not just listen to a recording of the music. It's not authentic. You know what I mean? Like you're missing the heartbeat of listening to a record when you're not seeing the musician play it live. He just can't wrap his head around that. So he grabs the record from the guy, and that's all we hear of. So I shall say we flash back and forth a bit in this story. At this point, um, we have our buddy Vince Pruitt Taylor, and Vince Pruitt Taylor Max um, has left the ship, and it's 1933. Um, and he just wants to try something different. Of course, he misses his friend. He ends up at this shop, um, and then now it's 1940, and he walks into this shop, and the guy's playing a record, and the record, he's like, "Where did you get that from?" And the record, of course, is the recording. And the shopkeeper's like, he's like, "I don't know, it came with this record." Max is desperate; he can't find work. He's a trumpet player, and he's about to sell his trumpet. Um, and the guy's like, "Yeah, no, it just came. It was in this record." And he's like, "Wow." Um, and he's like, "If you would only know the story about how that record came to be, it shouldn't even exist." And then this is basically Max tells the shopkeeper the story of the legend of 1900. He basically tells us the movie. Essentially, it's interesting. Like I said, it goes back and forth, flashing forward. Um, him telling the shopkeeper the story of Legend of 1900, um, and then back to 1940. Um, So I just want to take that side note because I feel like that's an important part and an important element to the movie. So now we're going back to the ship, and 1900, like I said, he takes the record from this guy that just recorded his music, and he decides that he's going to work up the courage to go talk to the girl. And this is just the girl, when the ship has reached America, and he has a brief conversation with the girl as she's exiting the ship. He doesn't quite have the courage to give her the record, but he strikes up a conversation, and you can see she enjoys talking to him. And she says, "Oh, you should come visit me. This is my address in New York City." Um, and You feel like 1900 after that is is moved. You feel like, wow, um, this could be the one. And he tells Max this. She could be the one, you know. And Max is like, yeah, dude, there's no reason for you to be confined to this ship. There's a great big old world out there waiting to be seen. We can see it together. He's like, but you should definitely go see this girl. So we follow that up, and you see him with his bags, and he's walking down the gangplank, and he's on the first step and then on the second step. And then he just turns around, and he just goes back on the ship. And like it's like you watch this scene, guys, and your heart breaks. I mean, it just your heart breaks. You just and Not shortly after that, like he goes into a very big state of depression. Um, I guess he kind of comes to terms with this. And then this is when Max kind of like says, "Hey, listen, I'm gonna go out and do my thing. I can't be on this ship forever." Um, and then we finally cut back, like I said, to 1940. So that scene I was just describing a little earlier, where Max is back in this shop, and he's desperate. He's selling his trumpet. Like I said, he talks to the old man because he's playing the record, and he starts to recount the story of Legend of 1900. Um, so he tells the story to the shopkeeper Max, and then we find out that the SS Virginian, the ship that 1900 was on and Max was on, has been decommissioned, and it's actually in port locally. But the ship is old and it's seen better days, and unfortunately, they're just going to blow it up. Um, and Max has taken aback by this because he knows his friend. Um, and even though it may sound crazy to you or me, guys, he's afraid that his best friend is still on the ship. So he begs the guys at the dock to like let him on the ship, and they're like, "No, like we already emptied the ship out. There's nobody on this ship." And he's like, "No, no, trust me, you don't understand. This is my best friend. A man's life is hanging in the fate of you letting me on the ship. I gotta make sure he's not on the ship." Um, and of course, he goes on there and he yells his name throughout the ship, and he can't find him. Um, and he's frantic, you know. This guy's like a brother to him. So he ends up going back at night, and he begs and pleads and convinces the shopkeeper to let him take the record and one of his record players. And he goes back up on the ship and he plays the music. And eventually, 1900 comes out. And basically, you know, they have a heart to heart conversation. And 1900, uh, hold on one second, guys, because bear with me for just a second. 1900 explains to him he can't leave the ship because he feels his fate is tied um, to the ship, and he can't bring himself to leave the only home he's ever known. And I'm actually going to read the following. It's a really beautiful quote, and I think it kind of explains a little bit the mindset of our main lead, 1900. He said, "All that city, you just couldn't see an end to it. The end. Please, can you show me where it ends? Land is a ship too big for me. It's a woman too beautiful. It's a voyage too long, a perfume too strong. So basically, in some way or form or shape, I mean, he has a some sort of form of agoraphobia, but to you or me, like, hey, we weren't born on a ship and lived on a ship our entire life. This guy has. So he just can't do it. He can't make that leap to venture out into the real world. He said it's just too scary. There's just too many streets, and he gives Max a hug, and Max does his best to, come to terms with this, knowing that he'll never see his best friend again, who he loves very dearly. Um, he goes back to the shopkeeper, and the shopkeeper says, "Listen, that tale alone was worth you keeping your trumpet." Um, and Max, I guess, has kind of renewed a little bit to go and continue to do his music career, not give up completely. And then, unfortunately, the ship blows up, and the Legend of 1900 dies. And obviously, guys, I'm giving you a very truncated version of the actual film, um, but guys, it's an absolutely amazing film. For those of you that have seen Cinema Paradiso, which I think a lot of you film fans probably have, if you have not, correct that. Um, this is one, like I said, one of the ones in his resume where, like I said, it did win a Golden Globe as far as for best screenplay. It did have mixed reviews, but the people that I have shown it to have genuinely loved this film, 9 out of 10 of them. And there's a reason for it, guys. I mean, I could get into the beautiful cinematography. I could talk about Ennio Morricone's beautiful music. I can get into this. The screenplay is, I think, wonderful. Um, the characters, you just connect with their friendship. Your heart breaks when you see this man fall in love with this girl, but he just can't work up the courage to actually go for it. Um, it's the world's just too big because that's this ship is all he's ever known. It's just an absolutely wonderful film. And of course, the score is amazing. Like I said, I think you can find it on YouTube or probably even Spotify. I've listened to it on YouTube, and it's just a wonderful score, like most of Morricone's scores. Well, it's highly worth seeking out. And of course, I'm very disappointed that it's not available on the streaming service because I know it should be. And it's not even, like I said, it's not even available to rent, even if you wanted to spend like $4 on Amazon Prime. So it's annoying that it's not. But definitely check it out, guys. I've seen the DVD go for like 17 on Amazon. The Blu-ray, for some reason, is ridiculously expensive on Amazon. If you have a Region B player, I think you can pick up Blu-ray for like $20 with maybe like $10 shipping. But guys, honestly, don't spend $30 for a Blu-ray, even if it's a good one. I mean, if you have a ton of money, by all means, pick up the DVD for $17 because even though DVD isn't the same quality, I know, as Blu-ray or 4K, for $17, guys, I implore you to make the purchase, hit the button, and buy this film. And when you're done, reach out to me, guys. Tell me what you thought about it because I'd really love to hear what you think about this film. Um, I like I said, I this is another one of those films that just frustrates me that it didn't get a wider release. It really should have. The guy is such a super talented filmmaker. Uh, so that wraps up episode 38, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you guys are having a wonderful week. So next up, guys, and I don't want to make promises that I can't keep, um, but in theory, knock on wood, maybe by the end of this week, if not the end of this week, definitely next week, I'm going to be talking about a graphic novel, primarily the first issue. It's a graphic novel called Stone Star. This is volume one, Fight or Flight. And it's a really cool science fiction uh, story by Grub, art by Max Dunbar. and it's like a really cool little indie sci-fi. Um, Definitely also worth picking up if you want to play along. It's pick it up at your local comic book shop, Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, wherever you pick up your reading material. So yeah, that wraps up episode 38, guys. So thanks for being here. I'm gonna do a shout out to people you should be watching. So of course, Troy and Brad over at Not a Bomb. They just released a new episode today. It just came out, and it was very good. It was about the movie The Alamo with our man Billy Bob Thornton. So anything with Billy Bob, you got to check it out because Billy Bob's the man. Um, I love those guys. They have always been huge supporters of me, and were even kind enough to have me on for an episode. And then they were kind enough to show up on my show here, where we talked Crying Freeman a couple months ago, and I had a blast both times. So check out Not a Bomb. Also check out T Public guys because they have some really awesome shirts. So check that out. Next, of course, is Watch Skip Plus with Jose and Alex. Jose has become a good buddy, and he is just a great guy. If you guys have been watching all my episodes, he showed up on my episode for the Devils with me and Mike the Wildebeest. We talked about Oliver Reed and Ken Russell. He showed up a month ago. We talked about Condorman, another good one, and we had our buddy Justin. And then, of course, last week on Sunday, he showed up for another Oliver Reed film because we're doing a little Oliver Reed retrospective, if you will. So definitely check out Watch Skip Plus. Watch Skip Plus comes out every week, and they cover the stuff that's playing in the local theaters. And it's just a great show. And what's also cool about Watch Skip Plus is they have a plus element where they talk about something new, like it might be a product, a new book, maybe a movie. And him and Alex are absolutely fantastic, and they do a really good show. Of course, I can't help but mention The Gentleman's Guide to Midnight Cinema. Sam and Will, every week, these guys bring it, man. These guys bring it, and they bring it strong, and they always um, bring something awesome to the table, guys. They never disappoint. Sometimes it's something like Boy Kills World, like they did, which just came out on Monday, where they had Brad show up, and that was a fantastic episode because that's a fun movie. And then sometimes it'll be some sort of obscure movie, or at least obscure to me that I've never heard of before, and they open my eyes and ears to something that we should all be watching and digesting. So definitely check out The Gentleman's Guide to Midnight Cinema. Um, I can't also help but mention Raiders of the Podcast with Kevin and the rest of the boys. Now these guys continue to impress me because these guys do something really interesting. They not talk about just one film, but they talk about two films, sometimes three films. A couple weeks ago, they talked about four films, and then they have like a little verbal duke out to see which film was the best. So definitely check out the boys over at the Raiders of the Podcast. Um, so those are all podcasts you guys should be listening to. Like I said, I hope you guys have a great week. It was a blast doing this. And like I said, next week I'll have that episode out for Stone Star for all my comic book nerds like myself. It's like I said, it's a wonderful little sci-fi. With some luck, hopefully I'll have a film out. Not 100% sure. I'm going to shoot for it though. I'm leaning towards another Giuseppe Tornatore film, maybe an underseen film like The Legend of 1900. Like I said, people know Molina, people know Cinema Paradiso and some of his bigger films. So I'm trying to think of one um, that doesn't get as much love as it should. So we'll see what happens, and I'll update you guys on my Facebook page. Which also brings me to my Facebook page. If you guys haven't joined already, check out my Facebook page, the group. Um, if you want to leave a comment in the comments section. And if anyone is ever interested in joining me for a discussion, I would love to have anyone that's interested in having a film conversation with me. I love having guests. So that's it for now, guys. I will talk to you guys soon. 1 second, guys.